Good afternoon. And this morning, after I was eating my breakfast, I happened to take note of a item that some of you still may have in your house, and some of you, this might be a relic already. And by looking at it, we call them paper plate holders. And they were made specifically to hold a paper plate. And this morning, after eating my breakfast, we were taking a closer look, and we're wondering how much detail it takes to make one of these. And the fact that usually this stuff is still made by hand. A lot of times now you'll see copies made in plastic. People have bought those. I think I owned some white plastic ones at one point, and some in red, white, and blue for 4th of July. But ultimately, I was at a yard sale, and I saw these, and I said, you know what? Nothing like the original. And these lasted me after being in another household. Whereas the plastic ones started to break and chip around the edge and dry out, and after a couple of years, we had to throw them away because pieces of plastic were falling off of them. Not so this. But if you notice, they start out with a bundle in the center. Usually it's in groups of 2. And this one looks like they started out with 2, 4, and 1 and 5, because the basket's so tightly woven. And then they added in 1, and this was the wraparound, and they added 1 into the wraparound, and the same here. And had 2, and they splitted it. They split the original 2 and then added 1 on either side. And every basket's going to be different, so we looked at another one. And this one started out with more bundles here. The 2 went off this way, 2 this way, 2, and 2. And then what they did is they came down here and split the 2, and then added in 1 on either side to expand the width of the basket until it came down, and then they finished it off by weaving the 2 fibers together. And then they add 1 in there as you run out of. Here's one that ended, and then they add another 1 in, and usually at least 1 of them is further back in the line, and they're adding another 1 as 1 is ending. It's pretty handy looking work, and at a distance it looks very pleasing to the eye, and it serves a purpose. And here you can see even better how it went up and it split, and then they added 2 little pieces in there, and this is smaller, but all kinds of materials were used for baskets. This looks like it could be willow, or it could have been some kind of a reed that was easily bent, or even small sticks cut and pulled into ribbons. And what's important is uniformity. Usually you can see that about the same size materials are used throughout the basket. And since it's a small basket, these are very small sticks. And usually they're soaked in water so that they're very flexible. And it's curved type of bent, but there's no abrupt bends until you get to the edge. And then the edge comes down and bends in right here. Bends in, and then this braid weave is made. And as it goes around, it collects two more, and then they're woven in. Sometimes, like here, there's a little crack. Did not affect this basket in all the years that it's been around. It's still strong. So you might see something like that and say, gotta start over. Apparently these people didn't feel that way. Here's where one was added in, over. So you just gotta be confident and work your basket. And this also makes the flat bottom to the edge of your basket. And depending on the material you use, baskets can be different. For instance, this one uses more of a flat strip material. And they started by weaving the flat strips in a cross pattern. And then one went under and one is over. And then they took some ribbing that was a little bit narrower, of maybe same material, only thinner strips, and they wound it until they got out far enough. And then they had to add in more legs or tabs, whatever you want to call them, to the original. This is the one that went underneath. And here's one that was on top originally. And then when they got here, they took a thinner material and wove it through and kept going around until they got out till about here. And then the basket actually takes a curve and it bends upward. So in here, they got the materials flatter, and these are pushed apart with your fingers, and so that the basket widens. And then as they moved up, they changed the pattern to a loop that goes around and around, and another strip that went to the top the opposite way. And they went all the way around the basket, and this helped to widen it faster and finish off the basket. And then you can see here where they ended it. If you don't look real closely, you might not even notice that. But here we can, because I got the light colored blanket in the back so you can see it better. Then they went back to these strips, and they didn't add anything in there. They just went to the top, and it got folded in, and then they did the overlapping braid. Let's see if we can see where it got pushed to the side. And then they probably split it so that they went from this side to this side in here. And then they take their fingers and twist it. And the twist helps lock it like this. and then causes it to spiral and hold it in place. So if we look at the side of the basket, they did a pretty good job of hiding where the basket ends. There's no edges sticking out at the top. It's all incorporated into the weave. And believe it or not, when you're making your first design, if you do it mindfully and even set it down and look at it and go do something else for a while, you'll come up with a design you like. And you think, oh, well, how could you do this and do it in a timely manner? Believe me, after a while, it gets to the point where you don't even think about it. Your hands just do it. So, you might be sitting out on the porch in a rocking chair, or in our case, civilization, you might be watching TV or a video, or whatever, listening to music and sitting by the fire, hearing the snow whistle by the windows, and you're indoors instead of feeling bored or say the power's out. You could be making a basket. And you go, well, what for? We use this one with a cloth napkin in it to keep our rolls warm. And the open air is a nice carry basket, yet it's easy to brush clean. If there's any crumbs or anything, we don't wash the basket. We brush it and clean it. And then, if necessary, I've taken a brush that I dabbed in bleach water and rubbed it over really quickly on both sides, let it set for a minute or two and rinsed it off, and then shake it out really good and make sure it dries. You don't ever let a basket sit wet with food stuck in it someplace. Say you set it on the table and it gets stuck on some gravy or something. You don't leave that on your basket. You brush it off. You clean it with water. You clean it and get it off. People take care of the things they own. That's baskets. So sometimes you find them in places like dollar store or yard sales, so people think, it's disposable. But people made these, and sometimes they used them for barter to set their wares out in that they're selling, or as a gift basket. But they didn't get thrown away. You didn't say, oh, well, I ate the fruit out of the basket. Time to throw the basket away. They didn't have that mentality. Things didn't go in a landfill to get them out of your sight. They got used and cherished. And sometimes the basket was given to you by somebody that you knew and made it for you. And you cherished it because it was a gift of love, of labor. So, next time you're at a yard sale, a flea market, or wherever you are, if you see some handmade baskets, don't think, 25-cent basket. Especially if the person's making these for the first time by hand and they're a craftsperson. Think of it as an investment, a labor of love. And you're one step closer, as well as the person who makes them, to independence. And if it's a person selling a little basket like this for astronomical amount of money, and that's what they feel their labor's worth, you could barter with them for something you make, or if it's just not in your budget, go to a yard sale and find one. And if anything, to get a pattern, make your own. And then you learn to appreciate when you make your own things just how much labor goes into it. These kind of baskets that are sold like 4 in a plastic bag, they used to be, and probably for $1.25 for all 4 of them back then, or even 50 cents, depending on what time period you bought them. A mother and maybe even her kids made these baskets, and they got probably paid nickel, 10 cents, maybe 50 cents for the whole day to make them. So, you want to make a change in the world? Change is us. So, have some mindful thoughts, relax. Next time you see something handmade, take time and take a look. Will I need something like this in the future? You might, because the same weaving technique was not only for baskets like this, but to make tables and chairs. And some of them now are still being made and sold for hundreds of dollars, thousands. And curing packs, even weaving panels for the roof of, say, you're making some kind of a building. This gives you a strong, more durable thing to keep out critters and wind or whatever. And the nice thing about it, say if you were making a container, this might be a cover. It might be part of a roof pattern or the underlayment for mud or shingles made from thatch and mud, and would be less likely to seep through. It would bond in and make a tighter bond and something that was more durable. So all that comes from looking at one basket. And if you're looking up the information, a lot of times you can look under hand woven and rattan or willow weaving, cane weaving, chair caning will all bring you to different types of methods. You have a good day. Thanks for stopping in, and please like and subscribe if you haven't or you've been unsubscribed. And please share with a friend. Thanks.